Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about something that causes an enormous amount of confusion for people considering a move to France: remote working. I regularly hear variations of the same question. I work for a British company, but I can work from anywhere. Can I live in France and continue working for them? Or, I'm self-employed and all my clients are in America. Can I move to France and carry on as I am? And another very common one: if I'm paid into a bank account outside France, does it actually count as working in France? These are perfectly reasonable questions. Unfortunately, the answer isn't simply yes or no. And that's because several different issues tend to get bundled together under the phrase remote working. So in this video, rather than trying to give you a blanket answer, I'm going to explain the questions you should be asking. Because once you understand those, your own situation becomes much easier to assess. Part 1. What does remote worker actually mean? Let's start with the phrase itself. If someone tells me, I'm a remote worker, that doesn't really tell me enough. You could be employed by a company in the UK. You could be employed by an American company. You could be self-employed with several international clients. You could own a company outside France and work for that company. You could be a consultant. You could even have several different sources of income. All of those people might describe themselves as remote workers. But from an immigration and administrative perspective, they aren't necessarily doing the same thing. And this takes us back to something I explained in last week's video. Your job title doesn't determine your visa. Your circumstances and intended activities matter. So the first question isn't, am I a remote worker? It's, what exactly will I be doing while I'm living in France? That's a much more useful starting point. Part 2, but my employer isn't French. This is probably the assumption I encounter most often. Someone says, my company is based in London, or New York, or Sydney. So I'm not really working in France. But we need to separate two ideas. Who you work for and where you're physically carrying out that work are not necessarily the same thing. If you're sitting at a desk in your home in France, answering emails, attending meetings, writing reports or delivering services, the fact that the company paying you happens to be somewhere else doesn't by itself resolve all of the immigration and administrative questions. Similarly, being paid into a British or American bank account doesn't magically mean the activity isn't taking place while you're in France. That's why I would be extremely cautious about advice online that says, it's fine as long as your clients aren't French. Your situation needs to be looked at as a whole. Part 3, the visitor visa question. This is where a lot of the confusion tends to arise. People considering a long-stay visitor route may also want to maintain some form of professional activity. And you may find completely contradictory claims online. One person will say, of course you can work remotely. Another will say, you absolutely can't. And then somebody else will say, I've been doing it for 3 years and nobody has ever asked. That last answer is particularly important to understand. Someone having done something is not the same as establishing that it is the appropriate route for your circumstances. When you're looking at a visitor route, you need to understand the conditions attached to that status and whether your intended activities fit them. Don't base a potentially life-changing immigration decision on an anonymous comment saying, that's what I did. Get clear on what your visa permits. Part 4, employee, freelancer, and business owner are different. Let's take 3 hypothetical people. Person 1 is Sarah. Sarah works full-time for a British company. Her employer has told her she can work remotely from France. That's one scenario. Person 2 is James. James is a freelance graphic designer. He has 6 clients, all outside France, and intends to continue providing services to them after moving. That's another scenario. And then we have person 3, Michael. Michael owns a British consultancy. He's the director, draws income from the business and wants to manage it while living permanently in France. All 3 might tell their friends, I work remotely. but they're clearly not in identical situations. Employment, self-employment, operating a business. Different circumstances can raise different immigration and potentially employment, social security, tax or business structure questions. Those latter areas may require specialist advice outside the visa process. And that's precisely why the words remote worker aren't enough to decide which visa someone needs. Part 5. France doesn't have a digital nomad visa. Another thing worth mentioning is the term digital nomad. Several countries have created specific visas aimed at people who want to live there temporarily while working remotely. France does not currently have a visa simply called a digital nomad visa. That doesn't automatically mean that everyone who works online is unable to move to France. It means you shouldn't search for France digital nomad visa, find a blog telling you there's an easy workaround and assume that's the end of your research. Again, we come back to your actual circumstances. What are you doing? How are you doing it? Where does your income come from? How long do you intend to live in France? And which French immigration route genuinely matches those circumstances? Part 6. Your employer saying yes isn't the end of the story. Here's another situation worth thinking about. You ask your employer, "Can I work from France?" And your manager says, "Absolutely. We don't care where you work." That's great from a workplace flexibility point of view. But your manager isn't necessarily answering the immigration, employment, social security or tax questions involved in you becoming resident in another country. Those are separate issues. So before packing the laptop and booking the removals company, make sure everyone understands what the arrangement actually involves. A company allowing remote work doesn't automatically answer whether you personally have the appropriate right to carry out that activity while resident in France. Part 7. The questions I would ask first. So, if you're sitting at home thinking, "Right, Isabella, what am I supposed to do with all of this?" Start here. Write down the answers to these questions. Are you employed, self-employed or running a company? Who pays you? Where is your employer or business based? Where are your clients? What work will you physically be doing while you're in France? How long do you intend to live in France? Will your professional situation change after you move? And finally, what immigration route are you considering, and does that route fit what you actually intend to do? Don't worry if those questions create more questions. That's useful. It's much better to discover uncertainty before submitting an application than after you've moved. Conclusion. So, can you work remotely from France? As you've probably realized by now, there isn't one answer that applies to everybody. And that's really the lesson I'd like you to take away from today's video. Don't reduce your situation to, "My clients are abroad, therefore I'm fine." Or, "My employer says I can work anywhere." Or even, "Someone online has the same job as me and they got this visa." Start with your own circumstances. Understand exactly what you intend to do while living in France. Then look at the immigration route that genuinely fits those circumstances. If this video has helped you understand the French visa process a little better, consider subscribing. Each week I answer one of the questions I hear most often from people planning their move to France. And if you would like to discuss your own circumstances, you'll find details of the free initial consultation on the Moving to France Services website. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week.